G'day, Happy New Year. I'm Andrew Marshall with the Northern Australia Climate Program at the University of Southern Queensland, and this is a short summary of the Bureau of Meteorology's climate outlook for Queensland for the weeks and months ahead, issued in the few days leading up to today's date, the 17th of January 2025. And we'll take a look at the rainfall outlooks to begin with, starting with these outlook scenarios, and they are the rainfall totals that have a 75% chance of occurring for your region. So looking ahead to the 3 months, from February to April here, we're seeing a 75% chance of around 25 to 50 millimetres for large parts of southwestern Queensland and around 50 to 100 millimetres or more for central regions, increasing to around 400 to 600 millimetres for parts of the far east and more than 600 millimetres for the far north. And remember, you can use this magnifying glass feature here to drill a little deeper into the forecast, specifying your location of interest to break the forecast down into the chance of different rainfall amounts occurring. And this will give you an idea of how conditions are likely to be compared to the historical median. You can ask your local climate mate to go through this with you in more detail. Now, taking a quick look at the Bureau's northern rainfall totals since the 1st of September, and the large areas in green here indicate where more than 50 millimetres of rain has fallen, and this is considered to be about the amount of rainfall required to stimulate plant growth. And as you can see, most of Northern Australia has now exceeded 50 millimetres of rain for the season. Now, note that the northern rainfall onset here is different to the monsoon onset, which is defined by the seasonal reversal of the prevailing winds from easterly to northwesterly with a low pressure trough and widespread heavy rainfall across Northern Australia. So we're currently experiencing a delayed start to this year's monsoon, which typically arrives in the last week of December, and we've not yet seen the reversal of those prevailing winds. However, rainfall forecasts are suggesting a 75% chance of 25 to 50 millimetres or more of rain occurring in the last week of January across the Cape York Peninsula, and this is likely to be associated with the forecast return of the Madden-Julian Oscillation to the Australian region, which we will look at in just a few moments. Now let's look at temperatures, and the differences from average for maximum temperature here show warmer conditions of up to a degree or more above average across the state for the 2 weeks from the 20th of January to the 2nd of February. And here the average is calculated over the 1981 to 2018 period for this time of year. For minimum temperature, we're also looking at warmer than average conditions for most regions over the next 2 weeks. Now, looking at the chance of extremes map for the 3 months from February to April, we're seeing an elevated chance of unusually warm days for the southern half of the state and parts of the far north, and an elevated chance of unusually warm nights across Queensland too. And by unusually warm, we mean the highest 20% of historical temperature records for this time of year based on that 1981 to 2018 period. Now, remember that these long-range forecasts for Australian rainfall and temperature provide the best guidance for local climate, so that is our focus here. These forecasts consider all ocean and atmosphere conditions that affect seasonal weather and climate. But if you are interested in some of the climate indicators that can influence the forecast, we will have a look at these now quickly. And there have been some recent changes in the Pacific region that are consistent with a developing La Nina. However, this is yet to be clearly established, and the El Nino Southern Oscillation remains neutral. The Bureau's model suggests that we are likely to remain in this neutral range in the coming months. The Indian Ocean Dipole, or the IOD, is also neutral and likely to remain so in the next few months. And all eyes are currently on the Madden-Julian Oscillation, or the MJO, which is currently active and entering the Indian Ocean region. A strong pulse of the MJO is forecast to continue its journey across the Indian Ocean and into the maritime continent and Australian region in the last week of January, where it will increase the likelihood of the monsoon arriving in Northern Australia. And finally, the Southern Annular Mode, or the SAM, is currently in the neutral range and is forecast to remain so for the next few weeks. Now, turning to the pasture growth from January to March, and we're expecting to see pasture growth across the north as shown here, with many regions showing top tersoil growth in response to the expected rainfall in the months ahead. And finally, let's take a look at the Cattle Comfort Index prototype forecast from the Northern Australia Climate Program at nacp.org.au. And these forecasts go out to about 10 days ahead and are shown at 3 hourly intervals, which you can move through using the controls under the map. Now, index values between 30 and 35 degrees represent moderate stress to cattle. Values between 35 and 40 degrees represent severe stress, and values above 40 degrees are considered extreme. And we are expecting varying heat stress conditions over Northern Australia, with some severe and extreme conditions to be aware of in the days ahead. As always, for more information and updates, please visit the Bureau's climate pages at bom.gov.au/climate. If you have any questions about recent conditions or the use of weather and climate forecasts, do reach out to your local climate mate. And you can read more about the Northern Australia Climate Program at nacp.org.au. See you next month.